got the Eagles and the Vikings for the Thursday night football game. Both these teams struggle to find their footing in week one. You expect that with pretty much every team. You saw a lot of elite quarterbacks struggle. Kirk Cousins is mid, but he had a decent stat line even though they lost. That's the thing. Eagles still won the game and covered the spread. They found a way to win the game and cover the spread. I said I didn't understand why it was only 4.5 points. Now I see why. But the Eagles also got some injuries. Starting running back Kenneth Gainwell's already ruled out. They ruled out one of the linebackers. James Bradbury also got ruled out. Nakobe Dean, I believe, is the one that's ruled out. So they dealing with some injuries. With them missing one of their cornerbacks, you already know Darius Slay is he's gonna be glued to Justin Jefferson all game. I think that frees up Jordan Addison.
I
And
agree.
and look, he had 61 yards on 6 targets in his NFL debut. No James Bradbury, no CJ Gardner Johnson. I believe that's how you say that's his name, right?
Yeah.
That's in Detroit now. They don't got neither one of those dudes this game. Jordan Addison's line is at 39.5 yards right now.
I like him over 75 yards at plus 425.
I love
That's that's the prop I'm betting for Addison. And even if you want to just sprinkle over 50 at plus 150, if you don't want to go to full 70 over 75, I'm definitely betting over 50 at plus 150. I think that's a steal.
I think that's a beautiful alternate. That's great value because at minus 110, over 39.5 yards, I thought that was free money. And again, I think Darius Slay is gonna be on Justin Jefferson like flies on shit. And we saw what happened last time they went up against each other. He had Justin Jefferson on smash. As great as he is, he only had like 40 something yards on like 3, 4 catches. We probably gonna see a lot of the same thing. You said it's at plus 450 for 75 yards.
Plus 425.
That's amazing.
Yeah, plus 425 for over 75, plus 150 for over 50. So I mean, sprinkle something on a little something on both. Other than that, I really like Madison. 50 plus. It's not, I mean, it's not a lot of upside, but over 50 yards rushing minus 130. So if you want, you could probably parlay that with like another prop just to get a little bit more money. But I think they're going to try and run the ball. I think they're going to want to keep Philadelphia's offense off the field, and I think they're going to force feed Madison. He may not be the most effective runner, but I think he's going to get the volume of touches that he needs to go over 50 at least.
I don't know. When they played last year, they shut down the run game. N'Kobe Dean's out, so maybe things are different this go around. But they don't got Javon Hargraves. But they they had the Patriots run game on smash too for the most part. They held them to like 70 something rushing yards. There's nobody other than Madison to run the ball in Minnesota.
Well,
And
that's why I like over 50. Because this thing, he might have 20 rushes for 50 yards, right? He might average 2.5 yards a carry. But I think, with the way that the Eagles play offense, that Vikings front line is not going to be able to hold up if they got a bunch of 3-and-outs. So I think at the very least, they're going to try and pound the ball on first and second down, try and get it into manageable thirds, and then ask Kirk Cousins to complete 6 and 7 yard passes and just kind of move the chain. Again, I don't think it's going to be the prettiest game, but I think in Minnesota, I think Minnesota isn't going to go out there and try and air it out and put their defense on the field because they're going to break down. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, hey, I don't know. I'll stay away from that. I'm staying away from all the Russian props right now because they don't have DeAndre Swift out yet. That's what I really want to see.
I was just looking for DeAndre Swift.
Like I think DeAndre Swift is gonna have a great game against them tomorrow, but they still don't have him up on any of the sports books. They don't even have Jalen Hurts up from what I've seen, unless you go on DraftKings and you switch to a same game parlay. But they have his alternate. They have his alternate. You get him at 50 plus at plus 100. I like that to be honest. But I want to see what DeAndre Swift is if they put it out. I'm assuming they're gonna put it out closer to game time. But I'm staying away from all the Russian props as of right now. What I do like though is I like Jalen Hurts over 302.5 Russian plus passing yards.
Not bad.
That's minus 115. But just going off of how they played against the Vikings last year, he that was like his coming out party. The Eagles are at home. I'm expecting them to make some adjustments based off of how they played week one. They only put up 25 points against the Patriots. This is the perfect setup for the Eagles to really dominate. That's another thing. Do you see the Vikings starting the season 0-2?
I mean, I don't think that I honestly I've never been that high on the Vikings, right? I think a lot of it boils down to the fact that Kirk Cousins contract prevents them from kind of being that deep of a team. So they don't have a lot of depth everywhere. They're kind of top heavy. So yeah, I could easily see them being 0-2. Now, in that division, I don't know. I don't think that takes them out of the running to win the division because I don't think the Lions are going to end up being that good despite that week one performance. I mean, I think they'll be all right, but it's not like they're going to win 12 games, right? They might win it with 10 wins. Now, the Packers, I don't see them going above 10, and the Bears are ass. So yeah, they could go 0-2 and still be in contention for the division.
The line is at 6.5 right now.
For wins.
No, the spread, Eagles minus 6.5. They
I
got
would
by
I
touch.
wouldn't take that's too many points. I would take the Vikings.
You take the Vikings for the backdoor.
I Yeah, I don't feel good about it, but I would probably pick the Vikings to cover. I just don't feel comfortable laying that many points, especially on Thursday night football when you know that we've seen a lot of ugly Thursday night football games. Like all it takes is like, a tip pass or fumble or something to kind of keep the Vikings in there. So nah, I wouldn't lay 6.5.
No, I'm interested to see how the Vikings bounce back after week one because there was a lot of hype around their defense coming into the season. They added Brian Flores. They made a bunch of changes on the defense, as far as players go. And they didn't look that good against Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Now, granted, they stopped Rashad White from really doing anything, but they didn't stop Baker Mayfield from getting the ball to Evans or Godwin, and they ended up losing that game. So I'm interested to see how they game plan and bounce back against the Eagles. But this is a road game. Philly's a tough place to play at. Those fans are wild. They're loud. So it's gonna be interesting. And Kirk doesn't have the best reputation in primetime games. He's not very good in primetime games. But I like Addison props this game. Like this is the guy I'm going with for that game as far as the Vikings go. I'm staying away from Jefferson. I'm staying away from Cousins. I'm staying away from Madison. I'm even staying away from Hawkinson as much as I like Hawkinson. I'm staying away from him too. They got Jordan Addison's line at 3.5 receptions, 6 targets in the NFL debut, and now they're going up against the Eagles. That's gonna put a big emphasis on stopping Justin Jefferson. I think he easily covers that spread. I'm not sure if there's an alternate on receptions for him right now, but if there is, I take him for at least 5 or 6 receptions. How you feel about that?
Probably, and part of me also thinks if the Eagles are smart, right? Maybe they take the Belichick approach. Maybe they put Darius Slay to shadow Justin Jefferson. Maybe put a safety over the top on whatever sign he lines up on, just to kind of to allow Slay to be more aggressive on some of those underneath routes. Maybe they bracket coverage Addison, and maybe it's KJ Osborne that is the beneficiary of that. Um, but yeah, but at this part, yeah, I'm riding with Addison.
You
And
probably right. You could be right, or maybe they even try to feed TJ. up the scene. But Addison, Addison's bread and butter, and I'm assuming the reason why they drafted him is his ability to make shit happen in tight spaces in the middle of the field. And his he don't have the best speed. He's not the fastest guy, but his hands are legit and his footwork is amazing. And that's why I believe this is gonna be the game for him to really eat. And it's only the second game, not a lot of film on him unless you studying his college tape, which I'm assuming the Eagles didn't do much of going into this week. One can only assume. I also like Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown score, minus 115. And I think there's great value at Jalen Hurts' first touchdown score too, plus 600.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hurts. You don't know what they're gonna. You don't know what it's gonna look like with the running back. So Hurts is your best bet for anytime touchdown scores, and then you know now if you're Jefferson, he might say, "Yo, I'm the best receiver in the league. Fuck Slade, throw the ball my way." Um, so we'll see. Maybe maybe they kind of get him in motion just so that way Slade doesn't get to press him right off the line of scrimmage. But we'll see. I think it'll be an ugly game. I wouldn't bet it, but I like the under. But I'm definitely going to take the Vikings plus 6.5.
The last thing I would bet on for this game, Devontae Smith over 5.5 receptions. Whether he gets a lot of yardage or not, that boy gets a lot of targets. And in more than half the games last year, he had at least 6 receptions. And he had what, 10, I believe 9 or 10 targets with 6 or 7 catches in week one. Let me double check that. I was looking at the stats a little while ago. 7 receptions on 10 targets, week one. I think we see more of that, especially I think the Vikings gonna try to take AJ Brown out the game and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I like Devontae Smith.
Now it's plus 105 too. Good value right there. You got anything left for this game?
No, the weekly special right now, Justin Jefferson over 150 yards receiving and the Eagles to win. I think we both agree the Eagles could win, and I think Justin Jefferson is good enough that I think he cracked 150 yards last week in the first half. So all it takes is
Yeah.
a long play or two. So at plus 650 is worth sprinkling maybe a half unit or unit on because essentially you're getting over six to one that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league and the cornerback he lines up against really doesn't matter. So those are decent odds. It may not hit, but it's worth at least sprinkling some.
You said plus 650?
Plus 650, yeah.
Yeah, you put a couple dollars on that. Throw a Hail Mary, hope for the best.
Yeah, because imagine the Eagles' money line is minus two something. So essentially, that seems like a gimme, or most people would take that. So plus 650 for Jefferson to explode. Pause. I'll take it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I ain't mad at it. I don't think he has a great game tomorrow. Or I hope he does, but as much as I hate to admit it, that Eagles defense is fucking special. They got a couple guys out, so he got a better chance, but I expect Darius Slay to move around the field with him at all times. He gonna be following him the whole game. But tap in tomorrow's episode. We'll be back with Dion. We go through the whole Sunday slate.